All right, Andy. Hey, Ryan, welcome. Good to see you. How things going for you? Busy? Sorry, I'm late. No, we're just about to get started. So everybody, we're just about to get started. We'll go ahead and start our program. We've been waiting a couple minutes to make sure that everybody comes in, but if everybody could grab a seat, we'll get started in just a moment here. All right, hi, welcome. My name's Andy Robinson, and I am with the Smart Energy Design Assistance Center out of Champaign-Urbana. And we have partners here today through the Illinois Energy Now program. And we have Taylor in the hall with 360 Energy Group, help check everybody in. She's up in the Chicago office. 360 is part of SEDAC. We have a program today that includes the first half talking about Illinois Energy Now and SEDAC programs. And then we'll break for lunch, have some box lunches about noon, and join back up about 12:15. We keep eating, but then we'll have programs. So right before lunch, we'll have programs by Edith. We'll be speaking about Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. And then after lunch, EPA will be talking about some of their programs as well. So welcome everybody today to our program. We're going to talk about reducing your energy footprint, finding ways to save energy in your buildings, help the environment and your community. All right, SEDAC's goals for our clients are to save energy dollars, identify efficient equipment upgrades, identify incentives, and reduce energy use for environmental reasons. So SEDAC looks at building energy use. We like to look at the whole building. We like to point people to make report to help people identify individual measures to upgrade individual pieces of equipment throughout their building, but we like to think of the whole building holistically. So we have free energy services. So we have outreach and training. We have energy assistance and assessments, new construction design assistance, which we'll touch on a little bit at the end, new construction incentives. We have retro commissioning programs, which are more in-depth projects. We have energy performance contracting support and application assistance for the Illinois Energy Now programs. Here's a photo of the group in Champaign, the Champaign office that includes some of the 360 group from Chicago as well. Illinois Energy Now is under the Department of Commerce, and it's the umbrella for the program of energy efficiency programs that that include the incentives that go out of the Department of Commerce that we'll touch on at the beginning here. Our partners include ERC, the Energy Resource Center in Chicago at the University of Illinois, Chicago. They include MIA, the Midwest Energy Efficiency Alliance, and then SEDAC, the Smart Energy Design Assistance Center at the University of Illinois, that also includes 360 Energy Group in Chicago. That also is that's a public-private partnership aspect of this program, where about half of our projects are contracted out to the private sector as well. So our energy audits, our energy assessments are also being done by private sector engineering firms and firms that specialize in these programs. Some of our trade allies that help specialize in both making recommendations, and then some of the trade allies also then specialize in helping implement some of these projects as well. So we have both sides of the projects covered, the implementation. Some people can help with implementation, some people can help with the assessments, and everyone can be covered and can really help enact projects. All right, growing the Illinois economy with energy efficiency. In the first 6 years of the Illinois Energy Now program, 9.1 billion kilowatt hours were saved, 237 million therms, so that equals more than $1 billion in energy cost savings. Right now we're in program year 9, so you can just see how these programs keep building and how these energy savings help everyone throughout the state and help save energy, save money. I tell my 4 and my 6-year-old that I go to work and I help reduce smoke. So they say, okay, Daddy gets rid of smoke in schools. They think that's a good thing. And I think that's a good thing. A lot of our clients like the idea of saving money on their bottom line. So we talk about the finances as well. Successes, I think we've touched on this a little bit, but we've invested $1.2 billion in energy efficiency in these programs. That's 2.4 million customers have been engaged. Training, for instance, 175,000 people educated on training efficiency, on energy efficiency. And as far as, so we're talking about billions of kilowatt hours of savings, and that's enough CO2 equivalent to be 280,000 rail cars of coal. One of the things one of the most interesting tours I took was of a coal power plant at the U of I campus, and they say on a mild day in the winter, today is not a mild day, but on a mild day in the winter, they might have 5 coal trucks come in filled with coal, and one coal truck goes back to the mine to dump the slag that's left over. But just imagine 4 coal trucks worth of mass have gone up in the air. So that's the kind of savings we're talking about, and this is 280,000 rail cars of savings through this program. I don't have any idea what billions of therms of savings are here. 78 million energy efficient light bulbs sold since the start of the program. If you see some of the these programs even help incentivize things like at the Home Depot, you'll go and you'll see a light bulb that's incentivized through the AMRIN or the ComEd programs. These are the same programs. Today we're talking about the public sector side of it, which is what this diagram shows. In the center here we have the Department of Commerce Illinois Energy Now programs. And it says 25% of the electric and 25% of the gas efficiency project of the monies come through the Department of Commerce office. That's the private, so that's the public sector side, which we've highlighted in the middle. Public sector governments, K through 12 schools, community colleges, public universities. We also have a sister program, which we're not going to talk about today much, but the low-income residential side, affordable housing, public housing authorities. That's a sister program as well. The other 75% of the program is administered through ComEd and AMRIN on the electric efficiency side of things to private sector businesses, residential, nonprofit, churches. Likewise on the gas, NIFOR, Peoples North Shore administers 75% of the gas side of it to the private sector. But SEDAC covers all of these public sector clients, and that's what we're focusing on today. Illinois Energy Now offering. So we're going to talk today about some of the standard and custom incentives. We're going to talk about the there's some clean water energy efficiency initiatives. I'm not going to talk too much on that, but some of the boiler tune-ups we're going to talk about. New construction program, public housing we mentioned is a sister program, affordable housing. The free products and services, which we have some slides on, saving through efficiency products, the STEP program that MIA helps administer. The assessments are free, retro commissioning is free, Lights for Learning is a free program through MIA. Technical and application assistance is free, training and education, like things that we're doing today, and then even more formal building operator certification. And there's an Illinois Home Performance Program. Here's one of the brochures that we have outside. I think you maybe gotten this here in your packet from Taylor. Public sector gas savings incentives. So these are available now. And so if you have a gigantic boiler or maybe 3 or 4 gigantic boilers in your facility that you're looking to tune up, you're looking to insulate the steam pipes, you're looking to get a free tune-up on, then those tune-ups are available every 3 years. I think it's on the next slide. We have an example. But boiler tune-ups, steam pipe insulation, lots of boiler incentives. We're pushing those right now because as winter's starting, this is a great time to really get those energy savings projects enacted for boilers and start now. You grab water. Start now to save gas throughout the winter. So you have that pack in your handout. Here's an example from the Ball Chatham School, tuned up 23 boilers in their district. They were able to, this cost $45,000 if they didn't have an incentive. After the incentive, it cost $6,000 and an estimated annual savings of $7,000 a year from this implementation and a simple payback of a year. This can be done every 36 months. And as systems go out of tune, we see some clients that do this every year, but the incentive for the free tune-up, for the free $1,500 tune-up for boiler can be done every 3 years. Insulating pipes in schools, this example in Hillsborough School District. So 2,000 feet of damaged pipe insulation. That costs $25,000 to do, but only $6,000 after the incentives. And they save $3,000 a year, so 2-year simple payback. So these are really excellent items to do in your schools, in your buildings, in your businesses. Can I get a quick show of hands of people in the room that are maybe facility operators or have a facility that they're directly responsible for, whether financial or operational? Group here, excellent. Can I have a show of hands of people who are maybe trade ally partners or part of the SEDAC or Illinois Energy Now program? A handful of hands as well, excellent. Great. Maybe a handful of hands of people who've been part of the program in the past, who've taken incentives through the program or had a SEDAC audit. Excellent. Another 50% or so. Very good. So these are incentives that we're encouraging everybody to go through right now. Take a look at your gas savings items in your schools and your buildings and your facilities, and take advantage of that. I'm realizing there's also there's water that's in the back of the room that just brought in. There's Cokes back there. We'll probably hold off on having wraps until the end of the presentation, but if you do get parched, feel free to grab some water. The excuse me, the electric incentives. Here's a quick sheet that we have on the website that helps give a quick example of the electric incentives. So for instance, a T12 to T8 lighting, $7 a lamp, something in that range. Reduced wattage T8 lighting, $3 a lamp to go to reduced wattage. If you're putting in new LED fixtures, 60 cents per watt reduced. So this is really a menu of things that you can do in your building to save energy and to get incentives. So $30 per exit sign, that pretty much pays for a new LED exit sign. So these are excellent incentives to take advantage of. They're also on the HVAC side, both room air conditioners, V-belts for motors, variable speed drives from our motors here, $110 per horsepower on variable speed drives. There's some refrigeration and kitchen equipment. Down at the bottom here is the custom measures. If there's something that doesn't fall on this menu of items, or for instance, if your variable speed drive is not attached to your HVAC system, if it's on a pool pump, if it's running 24/7, if there's some reason why it would probably save a lot more money than you're getting an incentive for here, then you can go to this custom measure at 12 cents a kilowatt hour saved. And this is where you would either do a calculation, or your engineer would do a calculation, or you come to SEDAC, one of our partners, and we could do calculations based on estimates of what your savings would be, and then apply this 12 cents per kilowatt hour and help you apply that to your application for this program. Likewise on gas, there's incentives for new furnaces, incentives for high efficiency boilers, for steam trap maintenance. On the kitchen side, ovens and cookers and exhaust hoods. So there are incentives for all of these items as well. Now, if you're in the custom natural gas side of things, you could save $2.50 per therm savings, per therm saved. If you're a really big saver of natural gas, if you're saving over 50,000 therms, you could be at $3.50 for the incentive. Or if you're saving over 100,000 therms, $4.50 a therm. So some of those really big boilers that we had in that slide before might be in this range of saving quite a lot. Maybe district steam systems, district heating systems. A large campus like this might have very large boilers, or a district system might be in the range of saving in the 100,000 therms in the course of a year, and really has an incentivized incentive for doing those projects as well. Just a couple of new promotions that have been announced in the last week. We won't go over these details that are in this presentation. The presentation will be on our website, and these, I think, are coming out in newsletters as well from SEDAC. So if you get our newsletters, we'll be detailing this as well. But just 1, 2, 3, 4 here is that we're waiving the $300,000 building cap for all facilities. There's a note that you probably want to break things up into $150,000 projects. I think that's for grant reasons, to make check writing easier. But there used to be a $300,000 building cap that's being waived for really large projects if you want to take advantage of that. Number 2 is that the cap that goes from, there's a 75% cost cap on most projects. But if you're a brand new client, if you've never worked with these programs before, to incentivize you to get in these programs, they're waiving that, and you can have 100% of your total project cost paid for by this project. And total project cost is equipment plus labor. So you can include your labor, you can include estimates of labor in these projects as well, even if it's in-house labor. Number 3, LED street lighting upgrade, 30 cents per kilowatt hour. That's a slight modification in just the way the LED street lighting program works. But if you're a municipality and you have LED street light or street lights that you'd like to look at going to LED, this is a slight increase in that incentive as well. Number 4, free boiler tune-ups for schools. That used to be a 75% cap on the boiler tune-up program. That's been lifted to 100% project cost, up to $1,500 limit. So that generally covers, we're calling that a free boiler tune-up. It generally covers the cost of tuning up a single boiler. And again, every 36 months on those boiler tune-ups. And more of this will be coming out in the newsletters probably this week. More of these details will be coming. Taylor's nodding her head because I think she's working on that newsletter. A brief mention about the municipal street lighting program. We got this from our our partners at Elevate Energy, who help operate this program, and going from the yellow high pressure sodium streetlights to new nice white streetlights, which have less glare, have a really nice look to them. But the example down here is that you're going from 175 watt mercury vapor in this example to a 70 watt LED. So that's saving $190 per year per streetlight. So it's kind of impressive to think about how much each streetlight is using in municipality. They have free assistance with this program for making these estimates, and this is through the Elevate Energy program, and details are on either Elevate Energy's website or on a DCEO. Usually, I just Google DCEO Energy. That's pretty commonly. You can go to Illinois Energy Now. You can Google Illinois Energy Now or ilenergynow.org. Yes, question.
I have a question on the street lighting.
Yep.
So, the program was kind of delayed because of the state budget. What happens so if a project like this was implemented, say, in the last 6 months, and it was originally, under an application that was like maybe 2 years old, can you go back and get the additional 30 cents?
So if it's already been paid?
Or it hasn't been paid yet. The application's still,
If it's still pending. I might have deleted that detail. There was some detail on number 3 here about that. And I think part of the detail had to do with contacting Andrea for more guidance, or Lisa Tubner for more guidance at DCEO.
Andrea?
Yep.
Well, not additional 30,
but changing.
The incremental.
Yeah.
Get the incremental piece. Yeah, I was curious.
I apologize. I don't know the exact details of that answer.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still a little more money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you bring up a good point. So the state budget put our program on hold last program year. So now this year, they're looking at spending 2 years worth of funds. So they're also being flexible. Usually you have to spend it in the exact window of the program year. They're being a little bit more flexible, sort of case-by-case basis. If you can make an argument for you were doing these projects before in the previous year, but you wouldn't have done them without this program, and you were expecting the program to be able to help support the project. I think there are ways to help plead that case and for projects that happened in the last year. So that might be related to that question.
Okay,
Yep.
So you said Andrea.
But talking to Andrea Ripe is good contact. Questions over here? Edith?
Just a note on the street lighting efficiency program. I believe Elevate Energy right now is working in the Moraine territory. So the metro, and they may be working in the comment territory. Right now, Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus with 360 is working in the comment territory.
Good point. Good point. So some more details maybe in the MMC talk next.
Yep.
Another question.
The program year, it used to start like July 1st or June 1st, I think it was. So,
Mhm.
Did it
June
start
1st.
on June 1st again this year, or is it like a 9-month period that you have to show?
I think it started June 1st. I'm trying to think, or maybe not. Maybe it started a little after June 1st. Okay.
No, it starts.
But usually it starts June 1st. I can't remember when the checks started getting written again. My job did not start June 1st. Let me put it that way. So yes, we are under a crunch to get things out. We're trying to get the word out to everybody. We're trying to get everybody to jump on these programs, to see the urgency of tuning up your boiler, of saving gas, looking at streetlight improvements, saving $190 per year on every streetlight in your town, these kinds of things. So we're trying to light a fire under everybody to say, hey, these programs are here right now. Let's do them. You've paid into these programs. So let's take advantage of them. Everybody in the state's paid into these. I think I have a slide of that, but let's talk about some of the free products through the STEP program, Savings Through Efficient Products program. This is put on through Midwest Energy Efficiency Alliance, MIA. And this includes faucet aerators, shower heads, kitchen nozzles, LED exit signs, indoor LEDs, vending machine controls, lighting sensors, switches for rooms, occupancy sensors for rooms, and LED screw-in bulbs. So this is the kind of thing MIA can come through and do a walkthrough energy audit of your building in the morning or an afternoon. And I don't know if they literally come with a box full of light bulbs, but they are able to check off the list how many light bulbs you can have screw-in LEDs, how many room occupancy sensors you're going to have wired in, how many of these exit signs that are pretty easy to wire in that you need, and they'll mail you the box of equipment free. So they're coming to do a quick walkthrough audit to see what the low-hanging fruit is that you can take, that you can install yourself, and then ship you these products free of charge. And then I think they want photographs that you put them in, that kind of thing, some documentation. But otherwise, this is a free. This part of the program is completely free. And you can't double dip. You can't get free exit sign and get $30 per exit sign through the other program. So just FYI. And the MIA also runs the Lights for Learning program, which is an educational component with schools. They also have a data center program. So data centers just use enormous amounts of energy. And if you have a data center, you might not even know you have a data center. I've been to libraries that we couldn't find 50, maybe 25% of their electricity use. We were wondering why we can't find 25% of their electricity in our estimates from looking at the bills versus how many lights they have and how many fans and plug loads. And then we realized that there's some closet that we were missing on the walkthrough, and that closet is just chock full of computers running 24/7. So data centers can be a small closet in a library or in a police station. They can also be a big room for a district of schools. So that's, they really vary in size, but they are very energy intensive. So there's a special program specifically with those with an outside consultant that specializes in data centers as well. And we mentioned building operator certification as well. That's an excellent training program. I just wanted to make a brief positive note about how energy efficiency is working. I've been with SEDAC for about 8 years. And it's really exciting to see. So in the 60s, this yellow line shows a trend of energy increasing in the 60s, a little bit of a tapering off in the 70s, but then an increase through the 80s and 90s of energy use throughout the United States. We're up here at 100 quadrillion BTU, so 100 quads, and we were getting just above 100 quads. Here's sort of the 2009. Here's the recession. But just notice we really have been skirting this 100 quad level for the last 15 or 20 years. And it's kind of cool to see. I've seen graphs like this for California as well, but this is for the national level. And it's really hopeful to see that through our energy efficiency programs, through adaptation, through adoption of national energy codes, through vehicle emission standards, we're really seeing all of the building and industrial and transportation sector saving energy and leveling off at this 100 quads. And I think that's a really hopeful part. And this is even with, the blue line is energy production is going up with fracking and with oil, enhanced oil recovery. Exports are going down, and then imports is the red line. Imports are going down and exports are going up as well. So energy efficiency really is an important part of both saving carbon emissions, but also then saving dollars for our local economies and revitalizing, spending that money back in our local economies instead of just sending it up a smokestack. Just really briefly, Illinois impacts. So SEDAC's worked with enough clients to equal 88,000 homes. And if that doesn't mean something to you, maybe 4 Willis Towers means something to you. It's amazing to think about that much square footage and that much energy. And the number of jobs created, 2,700 jobs created through these programs. And so some interesting points to make, to think about there. Application for SEDAC assistance is a one-page, very simple application, very straightforward. We really just ask building square footage, location, a contact name, maybe 2 contact names. It's nice to have more than one person as a contact on a project, and utility account information so we can get started on looking at energy bills. A couple of example projects right off the bat here. Here's the Henry County Highway Department. They put windows in this office. This building looks like it has a very leaky envelope, perhaps. So I think getting rid of some of the leaky old windows and replacing those was a good measure to do. Retrofitting the lighting, there were the T12 lights inside, going to T8 linear fluorescent. Setback thermostats, not running, not heating this old building all night long every winter, and higher efficiency HVAC furnace. So this cost in the range of $26,000. So these are real costs here, but they received about half of that in incentives, and they're saving $2,000 a year. So it's about a 6-year payback, and that's pretty good. They're going from a leaky building to begin with. Sometimes we see HVAC projects more in the 10 to 15-year range. I think that they were able to balance the lighting, the low-hanging fruit of the lighting, and maybe the really leaky windows with some of the more expensive. Windows are pretty expensive to do, and HVAC systems are expensive to do. So they were able to get a better package payback than if they'd looked at things individually. Here's larger. At the other end of the scale is a large project we've done with Oregon, looking at lighting in 5 buildings so far, I think, and installing lighting controls and new lights. There's also safety aspects to some of the old metal halide lights that come into factor as well. So there's the restrike time on lights that when the power blips off and comes back on. Old metal halide lights take 10, 15 minutes to turn back on. So going to T8 fluorescent is an instant restart. Looking in high bay areas, LEDs are instant as well. And then also you don't have problems with ballasts that could burn out on these as well. So there's some safety aspects that some of the national labs find favorable as well. In this case, this is $172,000 worth of lighting, so this is a pretty big project, and they received $50,000 of incentives, but they're saving $40,000 a year based on these lighting improvements. So these really add up. This is the low-hanging fruit, but these are real costs for these labs, and so a 3-year simple payback. Ice Arena is talking about sort of more diverse type of things that they've done here. So low emissivity sealing. That's when you go to a new ice arena and you see sort of like the foil saran wrap. Bubble wrap is a better word for it. So it's a bubble foil wrap on the ceiling. That reflective sealing is reflecting the heat. It's keeping the heat in, and it's keeping that ceiling from melting the ice. So that's one of the biggest things you can do in ice arenas. We just worked with an ice arena recently that has this beautiful wooden trestle beam ceiling. I think it had some of the largest wooden beams in the state of Illinois or something like that. And we said, well, you know, the best thing you could do is cover all that up with this low emissivity ceiling. And they said, no, we are not covering up this nice wood ceiling. We're just going to have to take a hit on that one. But for everybody else that has a boring old metal ceiling, covering it up, covering it with these reflective sheets is one of the best things you can do. Looking at ice temperature controls and setbacks, reducing the ice thickness, floating head pressure controls on the chiller, looking at a heat pump, water heating for the Zamboni. So they're putting hot water in the Zamboni, but maybe getting that hot water from the refrigeration cycle, and metal halides with fluorescent lighting, occupancy sensors, vending power management. So in the range of $45,000 in savings and a sort of 3.5 year payback on this project. Here's an example I like to keep in here. It's a couple years old, but it's an example of why you should have shovel-ready projects. So SEDAC reports, we give you this nice report of detailed energy savings. We look at the whole building, look at all the different areas, not just the low-hanging fruit, really dig into it. And not everything gets done in our projects right away. Sometimes you might do the low-hanging fruit items. You might do a couple things that were really on your checklist, a couple things that maybe also had some maintenance advantages. But then the report might sit on a shelf for a while. I found over the course of the years that, then when there's a problem that comes up, that report comes off, gets dusted off, and people say, oh yeah, there's a reason why we should, not just for maintenance reasons, but this energy reasons, we should do these projects. Well, back when the block grant and when the ERA money came through, that was looking for shovel-ready projects. So projects that had a report on their shelf that said, here are energy savings proposals, projects that we can do. So this is the Decatur Civic Center, and their final project cost was $0 because they got a full funded grant for doing this project. So they're saving $60,000 a year based on doing this project. So you don't always win the lottery, but it's good to have these things ready in your back pocket. And it's good to look beyond just those low-hanging fruit items and to really make estimates and go and get quotes on going deeper, going farther. Even if you can't afford it now, continuing to look for grants, continuing to look for funds, whether it's bonds, tax referendum that pass in the future. These things happen. It's good to do your homework now and get these things, get these savings estimates on the shelf. They did lighting occupancy sensors, boiler pump controls, chiller, water pump, and sequencing of equipment for $300,000 worth of block grants. All right, I'm gonna kind of breeze through some of these. Here's a school example. I'm just gonna breeze through really quickly. We have some of these. I like to go through this in more detail in our schools report. Let me just open it all the way up. So here are the energy bills for the school for about 5 or 6 years. On the top is electric, on the bottom is gas. You notice what happened here in the middle, their systems went crazy. So they called us about 2010 or so after running out of money in their budget. Notice they're using gas in the summertime here on the bottom. They're using 1/3 of the amount of gas in the summer as they are in the winter. Their wintertime gas is way over the charts of what it had been in previous years compared to the heating degree days. Likewise, their electric is just going off the charts. What happened was the system had gone out of whack. The computerized building automation system had turned the reheat on full, had turned the chiller on full to fight the reheat, had opened up the outdoor air dampers in the winter fully open. So it's as if every window in the building was almost open. and it was staying comfortable. You know, credit to the building system is it was able to stay comfortable, but it was running 24/7. It was just out of control in every respect. And they had their service contract had lapsed for a couple of years for this controls company. And we helped retro commissioning. We helped look at these systems, identify what exactly was running. For instance, the computer in this case actually showed that the systems were shutting off, but they were staying on. So it's one of those things that even being aware and looking at the computer didn't necessarily show them what the instant problem was. It really took some digging and some more analysis and putting eyes on these pieces of equipment to see that the valves were in fact open when they said they were closed. But anyways, so they were able to retro commission, and notice their savings in electric is even below what it was before. Likewise, their gas is slightly below the heating degree line, so it's really a really good success story in that case. Quick energy breakdown. So sometimes on more detailed reports, we'll do a building energy model. We'll do more detailed analysis to break down. Instead of just saying, well, you're using $75,000 worth of gas for heating, we might go through and say that, well, the model shows that the windows and walls are using 20,000 of that. The reheat system's using 24,000 of that, and the ventilation is using 28,000 of that. So that's what happens if you were to close all your windows, not have any fresh air ventilation, and also then not have the reheat. You know, but it's interesting to think about. These mechanical systems are using 2/3 of the heat in the building, so it's not just the windows and the walls. This is one of those arguments we get people that say, "Oh, I've got an old building. What can I do? I've just got to tear this whole building down." Well, that's not always the case. For instance, on our chart of school energy use here, here's that school. The original building is way up here, really high energy use of 120 energy units per square foot, kBTU per square foot per year. In the bad year, they jump up to off the charts. They're up to $200,000, and this is about $300,000, by the way. So they went from about $200,000 a year to $300,000 a year. And after the systems are fixed, they're right back in the middle of the pack, and they're in the sort of $100,000 a year. I guess $175,000 a year range, something in that range. But I like to point out schools, this was a relatively new 2001 high school. We see schools of varying ages throughout this chart. So really age does not necessarily matter. These second two buildings over here are both in one district, and they're both about turn of the century buildings. They're kind of large, they're kind of massive, so they don't have as much envelope as maybe a long strip of a building. So that's an advantage to them. But they had old leaky windows. Actually, the windows have been repaired, but they have window air conditioners. So there's nothing really amazing about these buildings, but they were really operated well. They had, in those cases, they had a person that helped go through at night and weekends, and they went through and they made sure things were off on nights and weekends. And at 3 o'clock, they made sure things were off. And the janitors had to turn the lights back on as they walked through the building. It wasn't one of these things where all the lights get left on and the janitors turn the lights off as they go. So there were all these areas where they were saving energy throughout the systems of those buildings. So really, people are really an important part. Question?
More of a comment. Isn't one of the challenges though? Like if you look at that, you're like, oh, they're super, energy efficient, but you might go there and find out that they've actually, shut off all outdoor air coming in, and
that's a concern.
No ventilation. So yeah, they're super efficient, but
right.
They're not bringing in any fresh air.
Right, that's a concern. I think we'll talk about fresh air more throughout the day. Certainly, demand control ventilation is one way to measure how much CO2 is in the air and get an estimate of how much ventilation is happening. And this particular district was interesting. They had somewhat manual controls to those outdoor air dampers. And it was interesting because the building operator kept a CO2 sensor on his belt and walked around to rooms and was literally checking how much farther he could damp down those rooms. So I think just being on top of it is really important. And he would turn those off at night. And those dampers went closed at night, and he was personally responsible for those. So at one point, we've had some schools that have come through and they say, oh, are you the person from the state that's supposed to check our CO2? And I don't know what point, 10 or 15 years ago, somebody from the state used to go around and check people's CO2. I haven't met that person yet. But we don't know. We sometimes say, okay, try to damp it down, but and maybe purchase a CO2 sensor, but we're not bringing it to every project necessarily. But really, because you want to be living with the building, you want to look at it long term. Just one point in time of us coming in an afternoon is not really going to answer every ventilation question problem, but just having eyes and making sure that the dampers are open or closed, just seeing how they're working is really important. Because it's one of those invisible things in buildings. If you had a window open in every room, you'd know instantly. But who knows in this room right now how many windows worth of air we have coming in right now. Hopefully we have a fair amount because we have a lot of people in this room. but this room has been empty for hours and hours and hours before us. And so the question is, can it ramp up and ramp down to accommodate those loads? We have this case study for the Normal Public Library of a really elegant solution that they had to a very beast of a system. They had a multi-zone air conditioner or heater that was heating and cooling at the same time. It's from the 70s. It had 10 different zones. It had 10 or 20 different actuators that were in various levels of broken. And so it was heating and cooling, mixing the air to make a nice temperate air. So a very inefficient system. They replaced that with 10 residential style split systems, so furnaces and air conditioners. And they're all sitting right next to each other in this long line, condensing units. It cost $190,000, but they're saving $37,000 a year. So this had a 3-year payback. I mean, this is just it's just so elegant, the solution that they did. The other nice thing is they had this really complicated building automation system before that was actually computerized. It was a pneumatic and digital system from the 70s or 80s, and nobody knew how to use it. This is the reference librarian is in charge of this system. Basically, a lot of these buildings don't have, these sort of medium-sized buildings don't have the budget to have maintenance people all the time. But this is his cell phone with all 10 zones on his phone in a sort of a residential style. What's the temperature? What's the setback time? What's the daytime, nighttime running period? So, a very elegant solution, and a lot less complicated than having a really even a brand new complicated building automation system. I was just going to make a brief mention. I'm going to try to wrap up. We're going to talk, I think, some of this afternoon about portfolio manager. Here's an example of portfolio buildings that we did for a school district. Here again is their energy use per square foot. I've also plotted their total dollars on the side. And on the bottom here is the total dollars in gas and electric and their total square footage. So you see there's some big high schools here, 1, 2, 3, 4 high schools in this district. You see that some of these schools on the far left side up here are the high energy users. This one was actually a brand new geothermal school. And we would say there's probably something wrong with that system. A brand new school should not necessarily be the most energy intensive in their district. So some more commissioning is necessary on that one. So interesting things that you can look at when you look at a whole portfolio of buildings. And then we'll choose a couple of projects, 2 or 3, to really get more in depth from this list. Portfolio manager shout out. I think we'll talk more about this afternoon, but you can see over time, you can see a nice downward trend in your energy use. We have some top 10 strategies. A lot of these presentations are also online. They're archived. Some comments about solar and wind as far as being, we recommend efficiency first. Extra credit is the solar and wind. You probably don't want to put a giant wind turbine on your site, and you probably don't want to have to maintain that. Solar, on the other hand, is kind of like watching paint dry, which is great because it's going to be paint drying for the next 30 years and making electricity. So that's something that as the costs come down, we see people looking at power purchase agreements these days. So sort of long-term loans. We're hopeful that we see more of that happening in the future as well. So we see these small installations on schools. This is maybe a 1 or 2 kilowatt array on this school. It was a new construction, and I think Illinois is number 2 or number 3 in the country for number of schools with solar installations. They're very small solar installations, but it's it's an educational tool. It's getting out there, and science classes are able to use those. Here's a very small boiler that's being cut out of this church. I just like to have this picture of this boiler being cut out because it's pretty awesome looking. And it was replaced. It was it was the size of a small car before, and it's being replaced with something that's the size of a refrigerator or a small refrigerator now this has a whole new room that they can have access to. So that boiler is saving them $2,000 a year in this sort of 20,000 square foot building. We do some new construction projects. You have a question?
Churches only qualified for
this. Let's see. Did I say this was a church?
Yes.
It is a church. Churches don't qualify right now. In the past, they did. We used to work with nonprofits, but currently we're just public sector.
I'd like to bring some churches in there.
Yeah. The churches would fall under the Ameren and ComEd efficiency programs. Yep. So we do some new construction projects. Here's a nice picture of this newly constructed. We both did the preliminary analysis and then the incentive review. So this is nice to see one of the projects that goes from the paper to brick and mortar. In this case, they're saving about $10,000 over what the code would have been. So the new incentive program encourages people to go beyond code with their designs. So we like to say that if someone's excited about having my building meets code, that's like saying you have a barely legal building. So it's not really something to be proud of that your building is barely legal. Let's go beyond code. In this case, these incentives help incentivize that. So $10,000 of energy savings, and they're receiving $50,000 or $70,000 of incentives. And that's sort of a 5-year payback in this case. They did increased roof and wall insulation. They reduced their lighting power density by 0.3 watts per square foot, which is great because lighting power density is usually around 1 watt per square foot. So getting down to maybe 0.7 is an excellent reduction. And they also had a ground source heat pump in this situation, in this instance. Here's an example of why you want to air seal. Just, or one sec, what's your question?
Just a quick question on that. How early in the process of construction do you want to be involved?
We would love to be, we can come in at any point.
Yeah.
Right, we can come in at any point.
Like how comments said earlier, you're involved in the new construction program, the better the more incentives.
Yeah, that is there's a very innovative idea about giving higher incentives for the farther out. So in our program, no, we just really want to encourage higher efficiency. Whatever the final model shows is what the incentives are based on, and some of them are prescriptive. Some of them have a menu of items, but we'd like to be able to come in at any point in time and help be an advocate for saving. Part of the idea is to not value engineer these beyond code items out at the last minute. So we like to try to say, look, this is what it's going to save you over the long term every year in energy cost savings, and try to be that voice, that advocate early on. But no, we can come in at any point in time. I have a couple elementary school examples. We'll kind of skip over those. I give those in some other school talks, and those you can find online as well. Here's an elementary school that happened to also do geothermal. They did air sealing. This is a 1950s school, but they put on a 50,000 square foot addition. Their lighting power density is at 0.66 watts per square foot, so that's excellent. They did excellent envelope, excellent air sealing, and their annual savings, $8,000 a year, 7-year payback. So more information on our website, lots of handouts, lots of brochures. We have some of those with us here today. A reminder about the standard and custom programs, the incentive programs that are available. We're going to hear more. We've heard about the Savings Through Efficient Projects program. We've heard about, so the Clean Energy Community Foundation helps fund some of these 1 kilowatt or 2 kilowatt solar installations at schools. We have the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. Edith speaking next. So I'll let her speak about that. The Illinois County Association of County Board Members is free application assistance. I think there's some similarities to what Edith's program does up here in the metropolitan area. The Illinois Association of County Board Members does throughout the rest of the state. And we have Mike Stanch here today representing that program. So if you have questions that are in areas that are outside of Edith's, you can ask him as well for additional support and assistance. One-page application. We have our website, SEDAC.org, the Illinois Energy Now website, ilenergynow.org. We'll talk about Energy Star a little bit more later in the afternoon. And that's all for me. And I thank you very much today. And we'll have Edith Makra coming up next.
Any questions for Andy before I take over here? Didn't already get asked. Great. Well, I'll do my introduction while he's getting us started up. Is there a microphone or?
There's a microphone generally here.
Okay, great. Yeah. So that I can hear me. So just to introduce the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, we're a regional council of governments. We're actually comprised of 9 smaller councils of governments that you might have heard of. So you think of DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference, Lake County Municipal League, and there are a total of actually 9 or 10, including a very small one in Barrington. We are umbrella to that, and we're inclusive of the city of Chicago. We were created by Mayor Daley to provide regional collaboration. And we work on a lot of municipal issues in general. We have 2 program area focuses, environment and housing. And so I'm obviously in the environment program, and I'd like to introduce Brian Tompkins, who started Monday, working with our public sector energy efficiency program. But I wanted to talk with you on this idea of sort of regional think and regional collaboration. We started something called the Greenest Region Compact, which ties back to energy efficiency, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. I'm really happy to have the opportunity to do that in this event. So Greenest Region Compact was, what I'll talk about is what it is, how we put it together, and coming from a pool of 290 municipalities that we really listened to. So this is a plan, a template that was built from municipal ideas and what they're already doing and what they say they want to do. I'll talk about how the Greenest Region Greenest Region Compact 2 is now comprised, and then focus on the energy efficiency component of that, because that it brings it back to a general sustainability program for municipalities, but we provide the implementation for energy efficiency. So we created this Greenest Region Compact 2 because when municipalities work together, when any sector works together, we can be more impactful. So municipalities have constituents. We represent 8.9 million people in the Chicago region, and we can be very impactful in our own communities. But if we work together, we can also impact higher goals, whether they be state, federal, or regional. And the tie that we have here, so you could read our goal there, but when I first put it together, I had envisioned sort of aligning our efforts at the local level, working towards bigger things, and then working with programs that are already in place. But the tie-in here is to the energy efficiency portfolio standards, which is really the overarching guiding policy that creates the energy efficiency programs that we're talking about today. So it's that we'll sometimes refer to as EEPs, but those overall statewide targets are why there's energy efficiency programs at all. So. When we put the Greenest Region Compact 2 together, and it's really a strategic plan, both at the regional level for what the Mayor's Caucus and what we should be doing regionally, it allows our partners, other agencies to find out what their priorities are, but it's also a template work plan for municipalities. And in order to create it, I wanted to know kind of baseline, what's already going on in the region. So what are programs that are already strong, that are active and strong, where there's a lot of activity on there. And it wasn't, you can survey municipalities. What I did is I didn't really talk to them, even though we were, regular dialogue and membership. It was a stealthy survey where I looked at the data from 290 municipalities, 95 different types of what we called environmental achievements. So if a municipality is already enrolled in a program like Tree City USA or Water Sons Partner, which you'll hear about in a little bit, or they've already gotten energy efficiency grants, or they're a member of something called Chicago Wilderness, it was 95 different types of environmental achievements to find out what's already going on in the region. And what we found out, even though our municipalities, we certainly think of leading communities that are very progressive and green, but we found out most of the communities are already doing something related to sustainability. So this interactive map on our website, if you want to look at your own community, it's dynamic on the website. You'll see a lot of colors for the categories of different types of environmental achievements. And because we're talking about energy today, follow pink. That's the color. If you care about some other things, land, you'll see is a really popular one in green. So we found out we have a lot of municipalities already doing sustainability, but specific to energy efficiency, we found out there was a lot of activity there as well. And in compiling these all of these achievements in 95 different categories for 290 communities, sort of the punchline here is energy efficiency turns out to be a very popular activity. So it is the third and fourth most common of activities of all the things that municipalities can be doing related to sustainability. It's a little bit of internal code there, but the Pkwy, you've heard that term already, Pkwy 1 through 6, DCEO grants, one type of grants, and then as Andy mentioned, used to be the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation, which did a lot of schools and such. This was focused on municipalities, but we did count some schoolwork when it was done in communities. So a lot of energy efficiency already happening. And then the pie chart here talks about the types of environmental achievements, which I mentioned briefly, but could be a grant is the big area. So those incentives are really, really making a difference in terms of getting public sector participation. And then these would be programs, policies, or memberships as they relate to energy. and specific there. So lots going on already. And then the second part of the Greenest Region Compact study was to find out, well, what's already planned, and so to find in common the priorities. So should we be working on energy efficiency? Should we be working on land conservation? Should we be working on healthy lifestyles for municipalities or for residents? That's what we wanted to find out. So we read all the existing sustainability plans that were published at the time we did the study, which was 2014. We found 30 local plans, and we aligned with regional and national plans. Something like, it's called the Star Community Rating Index, or if you're from the Chicago area, you've heard of CMAP, Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning's regional plan called Go To 2040. So we aligned all of this and studied 1,149 specific sustainability goals. And I know you can't read this, but just so you kind of get a sense of what that looks like when you put a community sustainability plan next to each other. Again, follow the pink here. And these are the 30 local plans we studied. We have the same data for the regional ones. And you can see this is really number of goals. But even at a glance, if you're only looking at the colors, you can see where the areas dominate. And you can see that there's pink, or the energy goals, really throughout the sustainability plans that we're seeing. If you're wondering what the big bar is, those are the purple is a sustainable community, so there are actually lots and lots of goals related to quality of life, kind of the catch-all category, but a lot of the sustainable communities relates to people. And then green, again, is a very common one relating to land. But it was a lot of data to study in terms of what the common priorities are, and oh, surprise, energy efficiency came up as a very popular goal in all of those sustainability plans. As a matter of fact, specific to public sector energy efficiency is public building retrofits for energy efficiency, or EE, was the second most common goal that we found. We found it specifically mentioned in 67% of all of the plans. And there were lots of energy goals in there, renewable energy and all kinds of energy goals. But the surprise for me, even though I've worked in public sector a long time, was to see how important energy efficiency outreach and education to residents and businesses was in all of these plans. And it's the 15th most common goal. That may not sound very high, but there were lots and lots of goals, and again, specified in 40% of all plans.
I just have a question on the public building retrofit. So it looked like your map was a lot of Chicago and metropolitan area. And aren't a lot of those communities under the ComEd franchise agreement, and
Yes.
those buildings don't pay for electricity?
Correct.
So how does that, I guess, why is there an incentive to do anything?
Well, that's actually a really good question. And we have 80 communities that we've worked with, and we're a subcontractor to Illinois Energy now, partner to Illinois Energy now. And we find municipalities are participating in energy efficiency retrofits, despite the fact that they don't pay for electricity. So if a municipality does not pay for electricity, if it's a non-revenue generating facility, if it is generating revenue like water utilities, they do pay for electricity. So there's different sectors there. But when it comes to the building retrofits, the goals are sustainability, which is a real common driver, improved performance, and then just kind of doing the right thing, the practice of being green. So there was a survey that DCEO did a couple of years ago about public participation, and that cost savings, I don't want to say that it wasn't a factor, but the municipalities were really motivated by wanting to lead by example, being progressive. Some of the performance was improved. They want to save energy despite the fact that it doesn't really cost them. There is a cost to the electricity. It gets passed on to the residents. So sometimes the energy savings are sufficient that they'll be able to readjust the franchise fee that the municipalities pay. But that's a good catch, yes. So kind of a surprise. I think DCEO was surprised. There was a perception that public sector that will be a hard to reach sector to participate in energy efficiency for those reasons. And what we found, of course, from what I've learned, they're already doing it and they really want to do it. So really no barrier to doing energy efficiency. Interesting though. Okay, so again, very common, this idea surprised me that public sector wants to reach out and engage their residents as much as they do. That's kind of a neat area that we'll also be working on with the utilities directly. But what we did with all this data is then we squished it into the Greenest Region Compact. And so we now took that fundamental data, what's going on, and what do you say you want to do, and we This is the full data on all the types of categories. You can see energy is important. Land was more important, I'll be honest there, but energy was very important. And we created these categories, came up with 10 categories, 49 common goals, and we put it together in the Greenest Region Compact, which is now a guiding document for municipalities specifically. And it's in 3 parts, so I'll try to just stick to energy related to now what the Greenest Region Compact looks like. So those are the final categories that we came up with. And I won't go into a lot of detail. It's all on our website, and I have some copies up here if you want to know more about it. But it really provides some guidance for municipality based on what some of the leading communities have done a sustainability plan. So it becomes, what should our environmental priorities be? We offer this as a framework. We did ask municipalities then to sign the compact, to formally commit to these goals. And the overall compact is just a simple 1-page, 2-sided document. And we ask municipalities to say, in general, do you agree with these goals? And we now have 40 municipalities that have formally adopted this, including the city of Chicago. So we're at like 3.8 million people impacted by the Greenest Region Compact, or in communities that have signed on to the Greenest Region Compact. So of those 10 categories, this is the example of the level of depth of the goals that we're asking municipalities to sign on to. So it's very high level, but it really is very empowering. If you care about an issue like energy efficiency, and the community has formally committed to using energy efficiently, that does help you then if you say, hey, this is part of your formal commitment. So it's very, very empowering. We offer the second part. First part is the compact. Second part is the Greenest Region Compact 2 framework. So all that data and studying that we did, we then organized into common goals. We filtered through those 1,149 types of sustainability goals and asked friends and experts. When it came to the energy piece, we talked to a lot of the folks a lot of the organizations that are in this room for guidance. We looked back at the programs that were already being used by municipalities, like Energy Star, which Audrey will talk about here in a little bit, and brought those back into the framework. So when it comes to, here's the overall goal, using energy for buildings and facilities efficiently, we offer strategies and objectives that will help get there. What's cut out of this is on the website, then it would link specifically, like the audits specifically link back to SEDAC, Energy Star would link back to Energy Star and EPA. So it's still high level, even though there's a lot of detail here. And so not every municipality was ready to commit to these goals, but it is a tool that will help them with those that have committed to it. And if they're want to be really resourceful, they can use it in a tool format to create their own sustainability plan. Okay, and then the third part of the Greenest Region Compact, how it all works together, is then helping municipalities and public agencies. Greenest Region Compact is designed just for municipalities. Our energy efficiency work is available to all public agencies. So we now want to help our participants, our members, implement these goals. And this is where, this actually predates our involvement in Illinois Energy Now, Public Sector Energy Efficiency Program, predates our Greenest Region Compact, but it all came together beautifully when it was so highest priority for municipalities. And we have the ability, the Mayor's Caucus being an organization that serves so many municipalities and being very close to government policies, operations, and thinking and leadership, we're able to provide an effective program to pass the incentives through to public agencies. We are partnered to Illinois Energy Now. We work with 360 is our technical assistance provider. But the Mayor's Caucus does the connections to public agencies. 360 Energy helps plan and implement the projects, and then DCEO through the utilities through DCEO provides the incentives, and the Mayor's Caucus does the administration on that. We do work in northeastern Illinois, so we're just in the ComEd territory, and our membership is municipalities throughout the 7-county metro region. So we are not statewide on that, but we do partner with other organizations and collaborating to make sure that all agencies are served. We are accepting project proposals now, as other partners are, and then there's some links to all the information is on our website, including the application for public sector energy efficiency program.
Any questions,
Questions?
comments? Thank you.
And what we'll do is we'll take a break for lunch, and we'll take about 15-minute break for lunch. We'll pull back together, maybe 10 minutes. We'll pull back at 20 after. So, Taylor, are there any instructions on? I think we have some wraps, some veggie wraps, some different kinds of sandwiches. Yep. Excellent. So thank you, everybody. We'll pull back in about 10 minutes.
Anybody wants paper here?
Excellent.
I'm coming up to grab.
Oh, sure.
I actually, there's two different ones.
No, should be.
And this one is the presentation.
That's the Greenest Region Compact. It's not ours.
Is it two?
Oh, it's a different one. Yeah, I think that was just like when I grabbed it.
Yeah, so I do energy efficiency projects for public utilities, but I'm also on the city council. Yeah, in Darien. Yeah, I've been there for 11 years now. Well, that's kind of Kathy Weaver's mayor.
I'll send you that email.
I think we disconnected on the caucus of, there was something. Yeah. Yeah, right. But I thought something came up that we actually did go back. So I think we've gone and then saw the double checks, but you know, I know that there's issues in some of our buildings and
That's why it's so that continue though. I'm curious.
Nobody knows what's in
Nobody knows. So I'm hopeful this will, because folks that fix their renewable bubbles, some of those kind of things. So I'm hopeful that some of the issues that we talked about during the bubble. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But I want to send you that one about Constellation. I think that's good because Constellation is that.
about what's going on with the utility staking letter somebody or comment, you know, in 2018?
2018. I don't know a whole lot about what happened last Thursday with the new legislation.
Yeah.
All I ever hear about is how great Clinton power plant is going to be saved and the jobs saved. I do wonder what all the details are in the 500-page bill. I think we'll have to see. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. So I don't know.
Well,
but
I mean, basically, the utility is going to take over all the Illinois Energy Now program as of January 1st,
2018.
Yeah. So
that passed?
Oh, it's part of the bill, yeah.
25% of the rate share funds used to go to FEL, and now those utilities have the right to.
And
Programs will be written.
that's in a bill that's voted through or
That's in
passed
the
both the House and the Senate? So it's done, it's law. Other unless.
I think the governor signed it. Governor signed it. Yesterday, governor signed it.
What's the bill?
SB 28. It's called Future Energy Route.
All right, we're going to get started here with the EPA half of the presentation. Now, is it okay if we go to about 1:15 or so? I don't know if anybody has to race off. You can race off. But we have more cookies in the back, so everybody should be happy. So we started at about 10 minutes late. We'll probably go to about 1:15 and maybe have some Q&A in between the two presentations here, but it's a Q&A time at the end as well. But thank you very much, and I'll let you take it away, Abby.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Audrey Washington. I am the Energy Star Program Coordinator at EPA, Region 5 in the Chicago office. And today, I'm going to be talking about Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And we also are going to be talking about a few of our other EPA voluntary programs today. Kerry McElhenney is here. He's going to be talking about our Water Sense program. And Andrew Mindel is going to be sharing information about our indoor air quality program as well as our air quality flag program. Many people are familiar with Energy Star, but a lot of people are not familiar with some of our other voluntary programs that relate to energy efficiency. So we wanted to be able to share some of those with you, things that are relative to communities, public buildings, and again, they're all voluntary, they're free. So we hope that you find the information that you hear today very useful and be able to implement them in some of the work that you're doing. So on today, this is what we'll cover. I'm going to focus on portfolio manager. I see a lot of familiar faces, so I know that many of you are familiar with portfolio manager, but can I just get I won't ask who's not familiar. I'll just kind of get a show of hands. Who is familiar with portfolio manager? And how many are using it? All right, so that's good. So that means I didn't see some hands raised. So those of you who are very familiar with it, if you could bear with me and as I talk about the basics of the tool for the benefit of those who this is new for. We really are trying to increase the usability of Portfolio Manager and getting more people to benchmark the buildings. And again, our WaterSense program, energy use and water use in the buildings are linked. So we'll talk about ways to conserve energy through our WaterSense program. And our IAQ program, energy efficiency, improves building indoor air quality and building comfort. So Andrew will talk about how those link up, and then our air quality flag program. So before I get started on Portfolio Manager, just wanted to give a quick introduction. Energy Star, again, is a voluntary partnership program. We work with buildings of all sectors, organizations of all sectors, from storefronts to Fortune 500 companies to houses of worship. We've been working with houses of worship intensively and wanting to work more with them for the last couple of years. We've been working with them. Energy Star is a strong brand. It is the most influential environmental brand. 85% or more of the American public recognizes that brand and recognizes that it signifies superior energy performance. We offer guidance, tools, and resources to help you implement energy efficient improvements in your buildings. So it's more than a label, but it's an entire program with a suite of tools and resources to motivate people to achieve superior energy performance in their buildings. We are, if you're not a partner, I'd like to encourage you to join us to become a partner. It's free, it's easy to join. Partnerships, organizations that partner with us, they commit to track their building energy use using Portfolio Manager. You don't have to become a partner to use Portfolio Manager necessarily. You can use Portfolio Manager whether you're a partner or no. But we also like you to facilitate a plan. Get a plan, develop a plan, implement that plan to improve energy performance. We have a lot of tools to help you do that. And then share your success with others. Share your success with EPA and the community to let them know what you're doing. And that is how we motivate change and influence change. And we have a lot of recognition opportunities through EPA. The partnership and benchmarking is the way to get to that recognition. So why use Portfolio Manager? Before starting any project, it is very important that you assess your current energy performance to see not only how your building is comparing to itself, but how your building also compares to others in terms of being energy efficient or not energy efficient. And this is referred to as benchmarking. So Portfolio Manager is a powerful tool that allows you to do that. It compares comparable buildings to each other across the nation. The tool is free, it's online. You can track your energy use, you can track water use, And we recently added a feature this summer where you can track your waste. And you can also track costs and greenhouse gas emissions. So this is really great for sustainability managers. They love the fact that they can track all of their sustainability efforts under one tool. So Portfolio Manager allows you to be able to do that. The most important thing about benchmarking is that it is an education process. It gives you the information that you need so that you can make more informed decisions on whether your energy conservation plans are working or not. Buildings that rank among the best are eligible for the National Energy Star certification. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. The Energy Star certification, the tool provides a 1 to 100 point score. Once you enter some information about your building into the tool, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But as you know, you can get the Energy Star certification on products, but you can also have your buildings certified. And when a building meets certain specifications that were set by EPA, it means that that building is one of the top energy performers nationwide in comparison to other buildings. So the tool again generates a 1 to 100 point score, and buildings that score 75 or higher are eligible for the Energy Star certification. And that information has to be validated by a professional engineer or a licensed architect. So the Portfolio Manager has a lot of great features, and these are just some of the really nice capabilities of Portfolio Manager. As I mentioned, you can track energy, water, and waste and costs, and you can do that for multiple meters for each facility that you have over time. It allows you to share building data with others inside and outside of your organization. You can create some really nice custom reports that requires nothing more than you inputting some information about your utility, your energy usage, and again, you can apply for the certification. But it's, in addition to being a management tool, it is also a metrics calculator. It generates nice reports with energy, water, and greenhouse gas figures that you can use. It uses your zip code to normalize for weather variation. And so it provides this, the most popular metric is the 1 to 100 point score. You can access Portfolio Manager online at www.energystar.gov. This is our main web page, /benchmark. It is password protected. This is the page this is what the page will look like when you go to Portfolio Manager on our website, and you will give yourself a username and a password. No one will be able to access your information unless you share your username and password with them. So I highly recommend that you put it somewhere where, you know, in a lot of cases, when people move on to other jobs, you know, it's really important that you have a username or password that someone else can use and have when you leave. All buildings can be benchmarked, but there are several building types that are eligible for the Energy Star score. And these are the space types that are eligible to receive the score. Banks, financial institutions, courthouses, data centers, dormitories, hospitals, hotels, houses of worship, K through 12 schools, medical offices, and of course office buildings, retail stores, senior care communities, supermarkets, warehouses, and multifamily houses. There are a few more that we've added, a few more space types that can now receive the certification, including distribution centers and wholesale supermarkets. But even if your building cannot get the score, it's still very important to benchmark, because you need to understand how your building is using energy, and you need to be able to track that information over time and be able to compare it to comparable buildings. So for the public sector, I know that there are many buildings that are not necessarily eligible for the Energy Star certification, like police stations, and I noticed there we have some libraries represented here, but it's still very important that you track, you know, that energy use. You can get a lot of nice graphs and charts from Portfolio Manager. That simply requires nothing more than you inputting some information. So behind the scenes, the tool is generating all of this nice information that you can use and get in nice colorful graphs and charts. We have customized, we have some standard reports that you can use in Portfolio Manager, and there are also some custom reporting templates in Portfolio Manager. You can choose from preset chart and graph options that are already there, and then there's a lot of nice metrics that you can customize and use. You can download performance documents in a variety of categories. You can receive a statement of energy performance. The 86 is an example of a building that benchmarked and received an energy performance score of 86, which is pretty good, pretty good. If you recall, 75 signifies that your building is eligible for the Energy Star certification. Some people have a misconception that, that benchmarking is going to be very labor intensive. It only takes, you know, about maybe the first time that you get started, maybe about an hour or 2 hours and a half, depending on how easy it is for you to access your energy information. The initial, it's in 2 phases. The initial phase is collecting the data, and then inputting that data will only take about a half an hour. After that, monthly updates should only take you about 5 to 15 minutes. This is the information that's needed to benchmark. Doesn't really require a whole lot. Some general information about your building, the address, city and state and zip code. You need a minimum of 12 consecutive months of energy information that can be extracted directly off of your energy bills. And then some property type data, things like your gross square footage, seating. This is an example of a house of worship. Usually we give an example of an office building because that's what's represented mostly, but this is an example of what the information that's required for a house of worship. And depending on your space type, that's the kind of information that will be required for you to input into Portfolio Manager. Another perceived barrier is that you don't know how to use the tool. EPA conducts free live webinars on a monthly basis on Portfolio Manager. They are accessible online. They are 1-hour sessions. You can ask questions with live presenters. We have pre-recorded webinars and seminars as well. So if you have trouble sleeping at night, you can always access Portfolio Manager training 24 hours a day. We have technical support team where you can ask questions and they will work with you to help you work through the system. And we also have a lot of help that's here locally. USGBC have volunteers that help and assist with portfolio manager as well. We have quick reference guides, and so take advantage of those. There's 3 ways to input information into Portfolio Manager. One is manually, which is the basic approach. Basically entering information manually, and it's really fast to do that if you're just benchmarking a single building. A second approach, way to input information is through bulk upload using Excel spreadsheets. A third way is, we're fortunate here in ComEd. ComEd has a tool that automatically aggregates your whole building energy use and uploads that information directly into the tool. So web-based services is one very easy approach that you can use. Are there any questions at this point?
Audrey?
Yes.
Just on the public sector, not being eligible for a score. So how can a municipality use benchmarking to also communicate, not just to know where their buildings are at, but sort of what's the incentive for a municipality to be involved?
So how can they use that information? Well, well, again, just benchmarking your building and understand you can't manage what you can't measure. So just having that information on hand allows you to make, decisions on how to prioritize upgrades. If you're looking at a portfolio of buildings and you're trying to prioritize which ones should I invest in, you can use that information to do that. We have a lot of communication tools too to educate the tenants and the occupants about what you're doing, and so that they can do things also to help, the building become energy efficient, things that they can do. So we have a lot of free resources like that as well. We also run public awareness campaigns. Many of you may be familiar with our national building competition that we run every year. So things like that just kind of create an awareness, and municipalities like to get involved in that just to motivate their tenants and their other building owners and managers to do things to improve energy performance in their building. Yes.
I'd say my church is having a little soft competition with the church down the street. Yeah. We're kind of neck and neck to see who can be the highest score in town. That's great.
That's great. So we have national competitions, but there are also sectors that run competitions among themselves, which is really great. Thank you for sharing that. So how many are benchmarking or have done it already? Wow, that's great. So going beyond benchmarking, again, one of the reasons that we're here today, SEDAC has a lot of great programs to help you make improvements in those buildings, and that is the whole point. Benchmarking is just the first step, but benchmarking itself does not save energy. You need to actually take action beyond benchmarking. So how many are doing improvement projects now that they have benchmarked and have found that information useful that they've gotten through Portfolio Manager? That's great. That's great.
You mentioned libraries. Do you know what some hurdles are to some of these different building types that aren't on the scores yet?
Some of the hurdles in terms of?
Why don't they have certification?
The reason why is because we use CIVIC's data, and where there is a lot of information for specific space types, that's where we're able to develop a score for those buildings. And there are some building types, space types that we just don't have enough information for yet. But we're adding more to that list. We recently added warehouses, refrigerated and non-refrigerated warehouses, barracks, and super centers, distribution centers. Those were recently added. So hopefully libraries are on the list in the near future.
Get the word out.
Yes, yes. John?
How many, like City of Chicago requires the benchmarking of buildings right now up to a little above 50,000? How many other municipalities are required? Do you know, or does anybody know? I mean, are there other municipalities that require that?
Yes, there's a trend sweeping across, the country where a lot of municipalities and state and local governments are now having ordinances requiring benchmarking. I don't know the number offhand. Edith may know, but I know there's New York, there's California, there's Minneapolis, there's several cities.
Sure. And I was just thinking, should I ask a question about benchmarking ordinances, or should I talk to Audrey offline about this? Because I've had a conversation with U.S. Green Building Council about the desire to push benchmarking ordinances out throughout the region. I know Evanston has been considering it, may have passed, and they're working on it. But that's still kind of up for discussion as to whether or not it makes sense. At least the way it's structured, it's a little bit more designed for cities with very large buildings. And so does that work for the model that we have throughout the rest of the region? I'm jury's still out on that one. So I think we'll have a conversation to see where that fits. So certainly you see it in other cities around the country. It is upticking a little bit. There's a lot of support for it, probably in the larger cities.
But it's not necessarily it's not in here.
It's suggested if it makes sense for a community. Like I said, that's certainly one path forward if a community wants to do it. I'm just wondering with the voluntary tools, I think we're a little bit looking more at that approach. But as far as the municipalities, even tenants that they might have to require that, we need to have a discussion amongst our municipalities to see if that makes sense for us.
Yeah, yeah. Another question? Beg pardon?
Residential Energy Star program.
Do we have one? Yes, we do. We have a residential Energy Star program. We don't use Portfolio Manager to benchmark. Well, multifamily houses can be benchmarked using Portfolio Manager, and you can get the score for multifamily houses. But yes, we do have a residential program. For multifamily houses, you can, but not for single family homes. There are other tools that are not as robust that you can benchmark the energy use in single family homes that's on our website, but there are no plans to include that in Portfolio Manager necessarily.
That's a little bit more of a contractor kind of program.
Yes.
Energy Star Homes.
Yes, it is.
And I do know, especially for ComEd, at least at my house, a lot of the times now you're going to get a report in the mail or it's on your bill. That's comparing your home to similar homes in your area, and it gives you a ranking score accordingly. So it looks like some of the utilities are taking that approach as well for residential homes.
Good question.
Is there a similar program for industrial?
Yes, yes, there is an industrial program, and there is a different tool that's used to benchmark energy use, and yes, we do have that.
I'm calling.
Okay, call me. Yeah, and we are trying to increase that program, so I'll be happy to hear from you. Other questions? Okay, all right. I am going to pass the mic over to Kerry McElhaney, and he is going to talk about our Water Sense program.
Yes. Thank you, Audrey, for that. So, as Audrey mentioned at the beginning, we do want to touch on some of our other voluntary programs at US EPA that have relationships with energy efficiency. So you might be wondering why a water guy, as you're talking to an energy efficiency workshop audience, but I'm going to try and make some connections between the values of water efficiency and the values of energy efficiency and how they can really go hand in hand. So much like Energy Star, we have a voluntary product labeling and partnership program at US EPA called WaterSense. And it's a much smaller program, much younger program. So the awareness is still growing and the program itself is growing every year. But primarily we're looking at mechanisms for saving water for a variety of reasons. Droughts that have been persistent across the country and then are occurring from time to time here in the Midwest. Better technology that's available around water usage, infrastructure savings that can be gained, trying to look at efficiency first before we're growing and expanding our various water and wastewater treatment and distribution facilities, opportunities to save on water in the outdoor areas, and mostly just because we're seeing vast rising utility bills in the water sector catching up to where electric, gas, and other utility bills are. But for our purposes today, the main take-home message is that by saving water, you are also saving energy. Straight and forward. You are saving energy both in the building and you are saving energy in your community. There's a very explicit linkage between water management and energy management. It takes quite a bit of energy to pump and treat and distribute water and wastewater in your communities. Most water and wastewater utilities are consuming up to 30–40% of the energy demand in their communities. So a lot of communities looking at their water and wastewater facilities as mechanisms to reduce overall community energy demand. Nationally speaking, water and wastewater facilities consume about 4% of our national energy consumption. And that can certainly vary from state to state and region to region. In areas like California, where you've got water being pumped across the entire state and up and down mountain ranges, it can be upwards of 20% of a state's energy usage simply by the movement and the treatment of water. On the flip side, most of our thermoelectric energy that's produced is consuming and utilizing vast water resources. So by doing your part in saving energy, you're also having an impact on our water resources. So these two ideas about water and energy efficiency do go hand in hand. And the simple fact is that by saving water in your facilities can be a mechanism to save energy. Some of the sort of large rationale behind why saving water is an idea that communities and companies and homeowners are embracing. We're trying to reduce risk by some of the uncertainty around our water resources and the costs of water resources, which are becoming more and more volatile, typically in an upward trend. A lot of this is trying to catch up to undervalued and underpriced water for many years. Water fluctuations, water supply fluctuations, and price fluctuations are occurring quite a bit across the country. And so a lot of folks are looking at mechanisms to save on water usage, to save on costs, to save on energy consumption costs, to save on those water resources themselves. We talked a little bit about the actual linkage between energy and water savings. And so any mechanism you can utilize to save on water is going to have that dual benefit of saving water and energy for your facility and your community. And it kind of speaks to this broader green sustainability ethic that I think we've already touched on a little bit today. The expectation now is there among residents and stakeholders and constituents that communities, that facilities are green, embracing water efficiency with their energy efficiency and their other sustainability goals to gain that recognition, to gain that leadership position in the sustainability space. So for the program WaterSense, we offer a very similar suite of services that Energy Star offers, but unfortunately a much smaller suite, but also I'll touch on some of those. We have a variety of best practice related information, guidance documents, tools and worksheets that can be utilized for mechanisms to save on water. Obviously, much like Energy Star, we label products So you can seek out the water efficient products when making retrofits and replacements in your facilities. And then we also, like Energy Star, have a partnership program partnering with our retail and manufacturing sectors that make all the water efficient products, but also with communities, with non-governmental agencies, with organizations to help promote the value of water efficiency to save on our water and energy resources. So, WaterSense has a limited supply of labeled products. I can fit them all on one slide because we've only been around again for roughly about 10 years. So some of these products can be applicable to a whole host of residential and commercial spaces, both for inside the home and for outdoor irrigation usage. One of our newest labeled product is the commercial grade sort of valve toilets that you would typically see in any commercial facility. And so we are expanding beyond the residential sector where we've started and now growing more and more in the various commercial building types. So we've now got full sort of bathroom and kitchen product availability, and we're working more and more on growing that list of labeled products. So these can all be sought out now. We have lists on our website to determine if the products you're looking at are water efficiency specified. Some additional resources that we have, especially geared for the various commercial building types, a variety of just background data. If you're not even familiar with the average consumption for your particular building type, we've got some available resources and research ongoing on that. Tons of tools and tips and techniques that can be employed at your facility on ways you can incorporate water efficiency strategies with your energy efficiency strategies, worksheets and checklists, things that you can start doing with your energy efficiency management programs, your auditing programs. Start looking at your water usage and means to save water in your facilities while you're looking at the energy usage. And so tons of, again, online resources, much like our Energy Star program. Just a quick snapshot of some usage data that across a couple different commercial building sectors. I mean, water use can vary from building type to building type. And so you want to investigate the different usage patterns and type of facility that you're managing to make sure you're targeting the high use areas for water. Bathrooms typically are your dominant water user in most building facilities, but if you're talking about school grounds, areas that have lots of lawn irrigation, outdoor watering practices, there can be high consumption outside the buildings. So looking at the entire footprint of the building, not just the indoor footprint, as we're going to want to isolate on the various water using practices. So we have a guidebook that can sort of walk you through how to do this. So it's called our WaterSense at Work guidebook, an online resource that you wouldn't want to read from cover to cover, but you could certainly pick and choose the areas and the building types that you're looking to investigate or make some gains for water and energy efficiency. Covers the whole range of not only techniques that can be employed in those buildings to save water, detailed insight into different sort of product specifications and equipment that can be used and optimized and replaced if inefficient, and even looking at some alternate sources of water, ways that you can cut down on your potable water usage by using some other sources of water, whether it be capturing rainwater, condensate, etc. The main message, much like Energy Star preaches, is managing your information and measuring that information going forward. So coming up with a plan, acknowledging and recognizing the usage that's happening, making sure you even know where your water bill goes. A lot of communities we talk to have billing systems that are never seen by the property managers, by the facility managers. And so recognizing the ongoing water usage and then tracking that over time. You can track water usage in Portfolio Manager that Audrey mentioned. So we encourage folks to do that. And a lot of times the benchmarking is very focused on energy. But while you're in there, while you're in Portfolio Manager, start tracking your water usage. You can do it by the individual meters if you do have multiple meters across facilities. We have some handy worksheets that can be used by facility managers as doing a quick walkthrough through a facility to get a gauge on current usage patterns, current consumption in the building. These are all sort things you can sketch out with paper and pencil, or you can edit on a tablet. These are writable PDFs that can be used to start capturing where water usage is occurring throughout the building. That data is then very applicable to the types of data that goes into Portfolio Manager. So once you capture that information, you can upload it into Portfolio Manager. And then we've got an assessment tool. It's an Excel-based tool that can be used as sort of a quick and dirty cost-benefit analysis tool for making decisions about where you'd want to target water use reductions in your facility. You can conduct some calculations and estimates of the overall water usage from area to area in your facility, examine different kind of retrofit strategies, and decide from a cost standpoint what's going to make the most sense. And it'll actually start calculating not only just the water savings, if you decide to do one exercise over another, but also the accompanying energy savings, cost savings, et cetera. So especially where you have that combined water and energy saving strategy in a particular building, you can do those calculations in this single tool. And so it'll give you some decent return on investment gauges on whether you want to employ a certain water efficiency strategy. Just going to run through a couple of kind of takeaway tips on things you can start doing right away. Simple leak detection throughout facilities. We do see a lot of buildings, even newer buildings, that have ongoing leak problems. And so upwards of 10, 20% many times of water usage can be simply because of leaks and potential repair issues in facilities. Those are sources of savings that can be gained immediately just by identifying them, getting your occupants to help you identify them, and getting those fixed as quickly as possible. Restrooms, as I mentioned, are one of the dominant areas of water usage in most facilities. Upwards of 40–50% of water usage in most buildings can be just simply in restrooms. A lot of times you're still utilizing that same old toilet that was installed 30–40 years ago, and they're using 4 or 5 gallons of flush. And so you can make huge gains just by swapping out or maybe modifying those toilets. Looking at some of the other bathroom equipment for retrofit opportunities, or just simple behavior opportunities. This is where signage and education of your occupants can help you save on water in parts of your buildings. Commercial kitchens, so if you have a facility that has a food serving area, commercial kitchens can obviously be using a lot of hot water. And that's where you're gonna have some major energy saving opportunities. You're gonna wanna look at the equipment in those kitchen facilities, looking for any upgrade opportunities. This is where there's not many equipment opportunities that we have that are WaterSense labeled, but there are a lot of Energy Star labeled fixtures and appliances that have water factors built into them. And so always making sure that you're looking for the most efficient appliance, both from a water and energy saving standpoint, can help you save on water and energy in those areas. The one water saving product that we do have for commercial kitchens are pre-rinse spray valves. So those are those sort of hose nozzles that you use to wash off your dishes before you run them through a dishwasher. Obviously using a lot of hot water anyway to sort of maximize the savings on dishwashing can save some overall water and energy usage in the building. Mechanical systems, ventilation, boilers, et cetera, they can also be major water users. We're looking at equipment optimization, even upgrades and retrofits for not only the energy usage of those equipment, but also the water usage. Constantly checking for leaks and other operational problems for that equipment can save on water that's being used by that mechanical equipment. That obviously does have to be balanced with the water chemistry concerns and some of the heating and ventilation equipment, so that you can have a balance there of making sure that water can be recycled, but not compromising any water quality or fouling issues in those mechanical systems. I thought I had one more slide, but there's also one last thing I'll just say about outdoor water usage for large campuses like this, schools, et cetera, that have irrigation systems. Making sure you have WaterSense certified controllers for those irrigation systems, so that they're deciding to turn on and turn off based on demand and weather conditions, and not just because it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it might be raining, but you don't want to have your irrigation system turned on. And then we do have a whole list of professionals in the irrigation equipment space that we also certify. And so when you're having folks design or audit irrigation systems, look for water sense certified professionals to help you maximize the efficiency of that outdoor water usage. So I'll stop there and just see if there's any questions about the importance of water efficiency and its relationship to energy efficiency before we move on. Sure.
An interesting anecdote from a high school we visited once where they said that they had recently had some plumbing work done and that the mixing valve in their bathrooms was repaired or replaced. And then they noticed the next day that their toilets were flushing with steaming hot water. And so it's one of those things to watch out for if you have the mixing valve was installed backwards or something and it was bleeding hot water into their toilets.
Absolutely. And that's again where you want to make sure you have that engagement with your occupants to notify you that, hey, there's hot water coming through this toilet. We want to try to do something about that. Question.
We do energy efficiency projects at public institutions and especially like in higher ed. They, in laboratories, at U of I, in two of their complexes, we reduce their water usage by over 50%. Just by taking care of that once through cooling or it's processed water. You know, they'll have scrubbers for lab hoods that use water and they would just go through once and dump it.
Right. Yeah, it's very common.
Can we just take one more question for the sake of time, and then we have one more presentation we want to give you out on time. And we'll be available afterwards too. To talk.
So the Water Sense, there's no national rebates through our Water Sense program, but a lot of communities are coming up with their own utility, water utility or wastewater utility based rebates. So check with your local water or wastewater utility. And there's also energy time utilities that are giving away free shower heads and free faucet aerators and have other rebate systems. So nothing at the national level, but there's a lot of local rebates happening. In some states, they even have sort of tax-free holidays, go out and buy water fixtures on a certain weekend and tax-free incentives for purchases. So happening in pockets across the country locally.
And the savings part too, it's usually two parts. There's a fee for water and there's a same fee for sewer. So the dollars add up very quickly.
Yes, because typically you're saving it on both ends. You know, if you're going to save it in, at the usage level, you're kind of saving on potable water coming in and saving on sewer water going out. And so you have two bills. That's dual savings. Okay, thanks. We're going to talk about indoor air quality, and then we'll wrap up here.
Hooray! So I'm going to go through this rather quickly. My name is Andrew Meindl. I work for US EPA voluntary programs. I want to start off with a brief question. Get everyone in the mood here. What percentage of time does the average U.S. citizen spend indoors? Any guesses?
90?
Winter or summer?
Winter is coming. No.
That's a good point.
90% of their time they spend indoors. And so the crux of this and why I'm here and what I'm going to go into is we have a wonderful tool that we offer that when you're making retrofits inside your facility, and sometimes, especially nowadays, where you're making your facilities like schools and libraries and so forth tighter, you're getting less ventilation and so forth in the facility. And so we want to offer you a tool for you when you make energy efficient upgrades that you can kind of take into account indoor air quality. So briefly, this are our four fundamental elements of indoor air quality: contaminant source control, ventilation, humidity management, and filtration. And if there's an issue with any of these four components, you might have an indoor air quality problem occurring in your facility. So for example, let's say you have a restroom that has poor ventilation. Well, maybe you'll start developing mold in there because there's not enough fresh air getting into that particular part of your facility. So what we're going to tackle here today is preventing that pathway from the pollutant or, for example, the mold getting to the people and preventing this from happening. And just a brief overview of some data here of the condition of U.S. schools. Keep in mind this is only for permanent schools, because I know a lot of schools now have those trailers and so forth, is the percent of schools with systems in permanent buildings rated as being in fair or poor condition, excuse me. So as you can see from this chart here, according to Alexander and Lewis et al. 2014, windows, plumbing, and ventilation systems in permanent schools, 30% of them are in poor condition and need either upgrades or repair. So the case for integrating energy upgrades in indoor air quality is energy retrofits and other building upgrades can disturb existing contaminants known to cause health problems, create or exacerbate moisture problems, result in inadequate ventilation, and then compromised venting of combustion appliances. So if you're running a lot of different things, for example, in a science classroom, sometimes you can have negative airflow that can also cause problems for your students in the facility. Continuing on, mold and moisture are associated with significant increases in asthma and other respiratory symptoms. Just a little point here is the CDC estimates the cost of asthma amounts to more than $56 billion annually. Higher ventilation rates are associated with improved student health performance. So if you have better air in your classrooms or public facilities, your workers or students, it's being shown, are more productive. And also you can refer to more information in the 2016 State of Our Schools, America's K through 12 Facilities Report. So this is the wonderful tool with a wonderful name. I'll read it all for you. Energy Savings Plus Indoor Air Quality Guidelines for Public School Buildings Upgrades. Say that 5 times fast. But anyways, the purpose of this guide is to provide and improve indoor air quality during school energy efficiency retrofits and other building upgrade projects. The intended audience for this guide is facility energy and risk managers, building operators, and school administrators. So the guide is divided into 4 pieces. Section 1 is your introduction. Section 2 is the assessment protocols and recommended actions. Section 3 is appendices. And then section 4 is the master verification checklist generator. I'm going to briefly touch on each, and afterwards feel free to come up and talk to me, and I can provide more information. So the first section, what we try to do is tackle these issues in 3 phases. First, you have your assessment protocol, which essentially means is you're identifying the issues in your facility before you commence the upgrades. Walking around, taking a look, looking for those facilities that are getting poor airflow or having humidity issues. Then you move into your minimum actions part, which is your critical actions needed to fix the problem. And then you also have your expanded action section, which is additional actions that can be taken to promote healthy indoor environments when feasible according to your resources. You should read all of this. No, I'm just kidding. But what it is it sets these wonderful tables up in the guide that you can walk through as you're going through your projects. So for like lighting upgrades, if you're going to be delamping your lighting fixtures, you may disturb dust or particulate in the ceiling that could cause problems for your students, and it will walk you through the steps to go through that. Section 2, the assessment protocols and recommended actions. I'm going to leave this up for a minute. These are the 23 priority issues that the guide tackles. This is what you will find in here. So it deals with everything from moisture control and mold, lead, vehicle exhaust, pests, job site safety, and HVAC equipment. I'll leave it up for a minute. So if you're dealing with any of these particular issues, or if you're planning on doing an energy retrofit project at your facility, these may be things you want to look into that could affect your students and public staff. And yet again, like I laid out earlier, it deals with these priority issues from assessment protocols to your minimum actions and then your expanded actions. So you got to find the problem, tackle the issue, and then maybe we can do some more to remediate the issue from happening again. How does this look in practice? So mold can grow in any area with long-term moisture exposure, including water spills, plumbing, leaks, spaces with high humidity, like I've talked before. Well, how do you deal with this? In the guide, I'll walk through moisture control and mold remediation. So you inspect for moisture problems, assess the needs for the remediation, address standing water and drainage, prevent condensation, and use HVAC systems to manage the moisture throughout your facility. The appendices is broken down into 3 sections. You have project planning and developing a project team, communication and education, and worker protection. Okay, here. So we've just walked through this, and then the last part of it is using the energy saving plus health checklist generator. Love these things. And what you go through here is an Excel file, and you put in what you want to look at. So if you're doing a lighting retrofit, you put it into the tool, and then it'll generate your checklist that looks like this, where when you're walking through your facility preparing for your project, you can see what kind of indoor air quality issues may arise from that project. But wait, there's more, right? I'm really on. Anyways, what we used to do is it used to come out and offer Tools for Schools assessment guide, and we mail out this little box, and you'd have all the information in there. But what we did recently is we combined that with all the knowledge and feedback we've gotten over the years, and guess what? We have an app for it. And so, whoops, what makes the mobile app a great tool? Everything you need is in one place. It's free. So again, it's free. And the checklists help you remember what you're looking at. So it's really cool because then, you can have your facility manager or whomever, if you have an indoor air coordinator, and they can walk through and do the checklist right off of their phone as they're walking through the facility. So then it minimizes time and it's free. And then you'll have a digitized version of that compared to the paper copies that we used to do. And as I said, it's available for Android and iPhone. The Indoor Air Quality Tools for Schools app. Smaller name. So then I wanted to just briefly transition into our EPA flag program. And the reason why we wanted to mention that today is outdoor air quality usually affects students because if you have sensitive groups and there's poor air quality outside, they can be at risk to have asthma attacks or so forth throughout the school day, going and lowering the productivity of your students or your staff. So what we have is the air quality index at the EPA. It's a type of yardstick that reports daily air quality, and it can tell you how clean or polluted the outdoor air is and what associated effects might be of concern to you. So here's a little table here, and there's ranges, but green is good, yellow is moderate, and then you have your unhealthy in red, and you usually don't want to see purple around. But how does this translate to a program? Well, the Air Quality Flag Program uses colored flags based on EPA's Air Quality Index to notify occupant and communities about outdoor air quality conditions. Organizations can raise a colored flag each day that corresponds to their local forecast. You can find more information at www.airnow.gov. And I'll be around afterwards if you want some more. But what the target audience of this program is K through 12 public schools, daycares, government offices, libraries, town halls, and businesses and other health organizations. I did some work in Milwaukee, and a local coffee roaster signed up for it, which was really cool. And so you have, yet again, like we saw on the table, flags in association with the air quality index that you just saw. And then there's the 4 steps to the successful program. You purchase the flags, you educate and inform the organization and community at the start of the program, so you can work with your students and maybe develop a day where you talk about the flag program or a curriculum that focuses on outdoor and indoor air. And then you check daily. We have airnow.gov EnviroFlash, and that's where it'll have your daily air quality for where you live. And then you get to know what actions to take when the air quality is unhealthy. So you can tell your parents if the air quality that day is not the best, and you have sensitive groups coming in your facility, they'll look at the flag and then know what the quality of the air is outside. Questions? Bam. 10 minutes.
I just wanted to add, you talked a lot about schools, but this is something that local governments can use, libraries, churches, not just schools.
Absolutely. Any questions?
Do you have a new tool like that for new buildings, or is it strictly for existing? It looks like everything we're talking about is existing, or is it not that?
So are you saying like new construction as if like while they're developing the facility, like constructing the facility?
As they're designing the facility, was this a tool that would be beneficial, or is there a version of it?
I can get back with you on that and give you my card, and I can get the proper answer for you on that. Yes.
How do we get our air quality tested?
So
I know with mold in the library, lots of books. In the summer was really bad.
Sure, yeah.
We had books damaged, so how do I figure that out?
Sure. So I can't specifically advocate for any particular method or product, but what I will say is you can go on Amazon and there are tools available that you can buy to address those issues. However, I will say that the scientific community is still, some of them are like open source where like you can modify and put different fans and sensors in there, and then other ones. So the quality of the data that you're getting might not be the best, but that's where I recommend to start. Welcome. And I can always put you in touch with the experts that can help you afterwards if you want my card. Anything else?
Sweet. Good.
Thank you,
Andrew. Thank you very much for everybody coming today. And thank you everybody for coming today and joining us on this with this Illinois Energy Now and SEDAC and EPA presentation about energy use in your communities, in your buildings, and air quality, water, and Energy Star and portfolio manager. So thank you very much. If we'll be sticking around for questions, if anybody has any questions, we'll put the presentations on our SEDAC website, and I think that we'll send information about where those are for everybody in email. And we have applications for SEDAC assessments. If you guys are interested, we have information about our programs on the tables outside, and you can chat with Taylor if you have some specific questions about those. She'll be out at the table. I'll be here. Thank you very much. Grab some cookies or a sandwich to take home, and thank you very much. Goodbye.